How are you? Nice case. Looking good, Rama.
Good evening, ma'am. All the best.
Hey, thank you, Pratik Garge. Nice of you to come. Okay. So what's happening? Shall we start? Pradeep, you've seen the previous ones?
I missed. Actually, I could not get the link. That's why I was not able to join last 2 times. Today, I got it perfectly.
Okay, so you can see the recordings, okay? Be good.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'll start. Anybody wants to say anything about the previous one, little bit detail about Roselle's? I had already given you all some little snippets.
Hi, hi, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good
I just want
afternoon.
to review the past 6 talks on the Rosidea family. The
Yeah.
best part at the end of the talk, when you made this one-liner, is very important for us, and it's really time-consuming you to prepare. And I'm thanking to you sincerely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So we are doing Rosidea, which is the subclass 5, and which is really about the split, the masculine feminine split. But we are still in the row 1, which is the womb stage, and which is not yet fully accepting the split. It's still a lot into still a lot in feminine aspects are there. So today we finished the first family, the Roselle's family, and it was a lot to do with the womb stage and the beauty and, trying to communicate and all. Today we are going to do the second family, still in the same row, which is called Mytails. So let us see what Mytails is about. So Mytail includes several edible fruit species. As I told you earlier when we were promoting just this, that, it has lots of fruits and things which all of us either eat or know, and some remedies which we use, but in a very limited fashion. So in that way, this whole group is going to be very nice for us. Yeah. So it has a lot of fruits in this mytail, guava, feijoa, mytail, and it produces pungent. That's another essential characteristic. Pungent aromatic essential oils from the leaves or bark, like eucalyptus. Eucalyptus, how strong it is. And it's used for headaches and all. So when we study that, we'll see how much different it is when you use it in homeopathic terms. And many of these serve as spices also. Now the flowers usually bear multiple stamens, in 2 whorls. So this is the earlier lineage. So you can make out these are from earlier times, because afterward they had only 1 whorl and few stamens. So these species serve as hedge plants, they're used normally in a garden at the hedges. And so when you think about it, hedges, what do? They establish that this is my boundary, and they divide my boundary from your boundary. So sometime in the old times when you didn't have walls, you made hedges and said, this is my part, that is your part. So there'll be a lot of dividing, establishing boundaries we'll see throughout this whole family. Or wood of all the mytails, again, that's the split. So when we are talking about this whole subclass, we are always talking about the split between masculine, feminine. And the split is right in the beginning, it is much, much more obvious. When it's still the feminine has still not given up and the masculine still not taken over. So the split is that the phloem layer is in each side of the xylem of the wood. And it is on both sides, which means again there is a split. And whereas if you see in the later angiosperms, which are more advanced, there's only one phloem layer and there is no split. Okay, it's just general things which we all put together and make the family. So the masculine quality is important. The separation is important, as we saw from the hedges, and the split between the feminine and the masculine. So the other. Now, so far, when you are right in the womb, you are only concerned with yourself, right? We've done inner ages, so now you'll understand all that also a little bit more. So the other, the father, now he rules. So we saw earlier masculine, feminine ka differentiation, we've done it twice. So he rules, there are boundaries created, very dogmatic, very disciplined, there are rules and regulations. And then there's religion, anything to do with dogma, putting down, you can only do this, you cannot covet your neighbor's wife. And everything which is put down in religion hierarchy is to do here. Fanaticism, again, when religion, we've seen in some religions, we become so fanatic that our religion, only religion, and everybody else has to be killed. So it can go to any level. Rigidity. And then when one is rigid and one is dogmatic, one is domineering, obviously the other is suppressed. So a lot of suppression, lot of domination, lot of criticism and hierarchy. Who is the topmost in the whole thing? Who will be listened to? The father will say, I will rule, so on. And now when we talk about all this, so far it was to do with love, the other earlier column to do with love. And the fourth was to do with lot of nutrition line. So, it is the mother's job. Now the mother is trying to give up to the, she doesn't want to give up, but she has to give up. But so we'll see how they work it out. So it's a lot now to do with work, to go out into the world. So far you were only with the family and at home. And the ambition that you have, the life path and the purpose of your life. So it's to do a lot with, again, the other. Now you're going out, you're making a relationship with somebody else. And so you have to walk. So lots of limbs and joint reflections. So, things, you just put it all together. When you do it in general terms, things may become a little bit easier. So that is the whole family. The row 1 especially is about pre-life or pre-birth. Not yet ready. They are not ready to be born. They are still in the womb. And you've seen in the minerals also, right till lithium and that line, they don't want to be born and start the process of getting out. Okay? So then when you're talking about the womb, you'll have a lot of uterine disorder, the pregnancy problem, the premature births. We saw in the last family also, a lot of deaths, something to do with death at birth, either the mother almost lost the child or didn't lose the child, but was very seriously injured. So it is not present in the world, not preset, present in the world before life, death, connection to other realms. Realms means we are not yet talking only because it's a womb stage. So it's not only the first column which is connected to the outside, but that whole row 1 is connected to the other world. So rule of subconscious, mythical, shamanistic and otherworldly stuff is a lot here. Okay. So these are all the Maya tales. There are in that also small families which each contain only 1 or 2 remedies. Combitaceae, which has then Mithraceaceae, Myrtyaceae, the Ongaraceae, the Thymelaceae. So we are today out of these, we are going to do the Thymelaceae, which has the daphne, the dir, and the merserium. Two remedies we are going to do, this and this. Okay, daphne and the merserium. Now, merserium, we all know, most of us have used it also. Today we'll see how differently we can use. So I'm just repeating this in case you are not clear. The full names: Angiophora lanceolata, then the Kaju putnam, that's a very important remedy. Eucalyptus, I already told you. Euthenia jambos, the Metalsia remedy, the Myritus communis, the Pimenta officinalis, and the Zizigium jambolinum. Zizigium we all use so often, but we use it in mother tincture form mostly for diabetes. Then you have this Daphne indica, Dirca palustris, and Merserium. So we are going to be able to manage only two. So we are first going to do the general aspects of the family like we do, so that you understand. The general aspects apply to the whole family. And then we'll do the specific remedy, which will have its own characteristics. So here in the Mithraceae family, you have the Truffia visca, the granatum, and the Lawsonia, which is the henna. Henna, which we put in the hand. Indians know all about henna. So henna, we just know that it's a lot of color and it remains. So we'll see what else it has to. And then they have the Ananthera violets. So out of this, there will be, most of them we will do, some we may leave. Yeah. So what are the themes of the Martins family? It is a mind in the process of formation. Okay. So the mind, that ego which has not been there earlier, we saw in the womb state, there is no question of ego. So that is now going to start to form. So there'll be unreliable mental functioning. You know, it will be, whenever something is forming, you're not steady. So mental functioning will be not steady. You'll have a lot of emotional outbursts and the initial cognitive development. In rosacea, which we've done earlier, the pathology is related to the question of how to communicate feelings. In the Mytes, it has to do with the expression of the mind. That means, how will I express myself and be understood? So in that family, earlier family, we saw a lot of communication, talking a lot because they want to be loved. Here, they want to be understood. So there'll be a lot of difference. So here is the beginning of maturation of the mind as an instrument of the ego manifestation in the world. So the need is to exert the mind, and this may, because you're exerting, so here is the hedges you've seen. So because you're exerting, you can always get confused. So there'll be a lot of mental fogginess. Clarity is not there. There'll be a lot of absent-mindedness. We'll see this in both our remedies also. The vague or scattered thoughts and very poor concentration. So you're doing something new, right? So like this, we are doing this new study. So sometimes you must be getting lost saying, God, how much is there to learn? When will I ever remember this? I don't think I want to do it. So many, all of you may be going through that kind of phase, right? I go through it also. But we keep on pursuing and persisting in this. It gives us a lot of benefit. And we can use, as you will see today, we can use it in many cases which kind of have, eluded us. We've not been able to really get that kind of a result which we should get. So there is mental fogginess, absent-mindedness, scattered thoughts, and concentration. So it will be very useful in children who alternate between high mental capacity and then poor concentration and absent mind. So mother will tell you that sometimes they be very good in class and sometimes just the teacher said not there at all and not concentrating at all. So this is due to their development, which is just happening. And the maturity is still not there. And the emotions are very labile. They are not stable. And so there'll be outbursts of joy, of anger, irritability at little things. And all this leads to congestion. When we talk of congestion, it can be physical or mental, right? So physical congestion, we understand, blood collects or something, or swelling. Mental congestion is there are too many things like happening to us who are studying completely a new subject for all, most of us, even for me, and it leads to congestion. You can look on it as a traffic jam. The other theme is this rapacious feminine. You know, the black mother. We will all understand it because it is Kali, the expression of Ma Kali. You know, the Bengalis celebrate Durga Puja, no? Kali. So you've seen Kali, how she looks. So it's a dominating. And the swelling versus suppression and contraction. You have a swelling, then you have contraction. So swelling versus suppression. So there is an expansive quality, limitless spreading out, no clear boundaries, and then remnant of the feminine. These are all remnant of the feminine, na, where you just include everybody is in your love, and you don't have any clear boundaries. So the remnant of the feminine is the great mother, is the end of the first rule, which we are doing now, and on the verge of the masculine rule of the column 5. This mother turns rapacious, the dying dragon, when his final stand, I will still fight for my rights kind of thing. And they are now going to come under the masculine. Masculine, what does it do? It limits, it suppresses, it constrains it. Whereas the feminine expands. Everybody is to be included. This remnant presents an image of the great mother, and you'll see this more in the granatum and the Kajuputnam, which we talked about. And the mother is grotesquely enlarged and swollen. So we call the black mother. Swelling is till the point of being black. And we all know Kali, okay? Kali, the goddess Kali. How Kali, it is fearful expression, gaping mouth. I've always wondered how a goddess can be so very ugly, so very kind of angry, and so, full of venom. That's what always that Kali, the structure of Kali gave me that kind of feeling. Because this is that death and rebirth cycle of nature, when you die, then you're reborn. So here, death has happened, you're being reborn, you still don't know whether you want to come into this world or not. Okay? So other goddesses are also there, Greek goddess, etc. Everywhere it's the same thing. We think only in Indian term, but everywhere else also there are goddesses which have similar experience. So this goddess is mother, great mother. Wisdom and knowledge are now being persecuted by the masculine, who's actually in fear of its feminine power, because they are goddesses and they can have powers. So they are wanting to be dominating, but they're also scared of the feminine. So the dynamics that results from this struggle between masculine and feminine forces produces what? Restlessness, pressure, oppression, suppression, and eventually shrinkage. So on the physical level, it affects the digestion, the uterine, because we had said death and to do with being born, so uterus, swollen, flaccid tongue, a lot of night aggravation. Black means again night, black discharges, dreams of death, and deep pessimism. So a lot of what we call negative things are here in this particular. So the themes are life and death, has to do with the split between the end of the previous column, which was, I told you, nutrition, 4th column, and the new beginning, the 5th column. So the theme of death and new life and the transition from there to there is is the theme. This theme is again reflected in perinatal pathology. So you'll have again, when we talk about, we're talking about the same thing in different terms so that it becomes clear to you. So you can have abortion, some mother who's had done many abortions or had many abortions, you have to think of the womb row, anywhere. It can be either then whether they belong to the mineral kingdom, animal kingdom, or the plant kingdom like we are doing now. You have to see where they belong and then see that the row is the topmost. There'll be a lot of history of premature births, which lead early on to excessive neuronal excitability. So because it is immature, premature, so the nervous system is not well developed. And so there is again, when you're not developed, you're not steady. So there is a neuronal excitability. And later possibly to numbness. And there are lots of themes of neonatal death, near death at birth. Last time also we saw that there were a lot of deaths. Either the mother had a dream of a death of a child. We saw that in one case, remember? And then when she had, this was in prunus spinosa, and when she really had her child and the child almost died, she said, God give it, God take it. Very philosophical. But really it was not caring, right? So the third theme is hysterical joy. Everything is a lot because they have no control. So joy, excitement, over expansion or contraction and reactivity. So it is a hysterical, dramatic, expansive quality, which is remnant of the previous column's feminine emotion, which refuses to be completely subdued by the masculine in the soul. It is still fighting for its own place. So there's a general overexcitement of the mind and the body. There is nervous overstimulation. As I told you, nerves are not all settled. Joyfulness, lightness, can be light also. When you're drunk, very light, right? To the point of intoxication and out of body experiences, confusion and restlessness. So here you'll see children also, a lot of ADHD children in this, where they're very restless, cannot sit still. We saw that in the last cases also, we saw that there were lots of children who couldn't sit down at all, right? Even my own case of Rosidea, I told you the child can't sit for a few minutes and now she's sitting and studying. So here, typically the mucous membrane, because that is what comes into contact first, mucous membrane of the nose, mouth and stomach. These are in contact with the outside. So they come in contact with air and external forces. So they are the ones which are most affected. Because there isn't yet the readiness to encounter the other, the reaction when you don't want to encounter will be what? Moving away, right? So contraction, numbness, separation, estrangement, weakness. So all these qualities we will see in each of the remedies. So whereas in the rosacea, the encounter with the other like a thorn, we saw in the roses, all the thorns to a point. Here we see that they're beginning to open up to the other. But despite trying to open up, there is still this masculine-feminine conflict and confusion, which causes contraction and withdrawal. So there is congestion, restlessness, and insomnia. Whenever you're too restless, you can't even get sleep. Whenever you're too swollen and congested, you can't even get sleep. So at this state, there is a strong urge to go out and act the world, but without the corresponding readiness. Nor do they know how to go about it. They want to open up to the other, but they don't know how to do. And so this leads to distress. We must always look at us studying this new kind of a subject and how we are wanting to open up and we don't know sometimes how to do it. Okay, how to get the remedies. Today also we have so much difficulty. Like we've contacted everybody here and we've not got all the rosacea, only 3 or 4 we managed to get. Some from Roy, some from a new pharmacy called Arnica in Bandra, some from, I told you, the Pune fellow, Vaheti. So, but we've not managed to get all. And I really, really want to use Rosa B, which I told you. It has a lot to do with abuse and sexual abuse. And I really want to use it for a patient. But yeah, we are still waiting. So all this kind of a thing when we are doing something new leads to distress, and this unfulfilled urge builds up and again creates congestion and there is no outlet. Okay. For us also when we are studying it, if we can't get cases just like that, we say, okay, where is my outlet to all this study that I'm doing? So accumulation, swelling, obstruction, which eventually leads to shriveling and contraction. So there is much unrest in the organism with symptoms like insomnia and the night agitation and the summer. So these are all the general themes of this whole group, okay? My takes. But you will find that there are specific in each thing we must remember. So pre-relationship, isolation and contraction. The ego's need here in column 5 is to encounter the other. But this leads to either to isolation. We saw in the earlier group how they were looking for a soulmate all their life. They want this soulmate. So here, then many of them didn't find it, so it led to isolation. So it can lead to isolation and contraction because there's a fear, no? I meet this guy, whether he'll be good to me. I've already had one experience where he was really bad. Remember one patient told us, I don't know, I want this, but I always seem to meet only very hurtful men. Or to a juvenile attempt to connect typically through boundless loquacity. So if you can, you're talking, you can connect faster and better. The people who are quiet, they are sometimes not able to connect so fast, but of course they eventually will. So the need to establish communication with the other is contract, yes, due to unpreparedness. I'm not yet ready. That's what the row 1 says. And so the proper contact is not made, and this leads to annoyance, irritability, and despondence, despair, depression. The poor relationship with the other is also related to poor early nurture by the other in the beginning of life. So either you got the breast milk or you didn't get it, food, love, warmth, all this, whether it came as prescribed, as correctly was it given to you. So it results in irritability, moodiness, misanthropy. We did the inner ages where you had trust and mistrust issues, okay? And this was in the toddler stage. So you don't get it, then you have toddler or even earlier. And then you can have that the world is not a place you can trust. Huh? So then you can have misanthropy and even desire to die. If all this happens, then there's a deep-seated split and conflict. Okay? So hard and soft, cold and hot. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of a theory. So we'll see later that parts which are soft, they feel hard. Mean they are soft, but the patient, the feeling is hard. Or sometimes the parts are cold, but they are sometimes. So early in column 5, when the masculine takes over from feminine, they want to mold, they want to impart a distinct form to the ego. But the feminine insists, hello, I was here first, I also have dominance. This results in a split between the masculine and feminine. Who is soft? The feminine. Who is hard? The masculine. So between hard and soft, hot and cold, some parts of the body are hot, others cold. There is suffocation and, it alternates with suffocation and free breathing. And a drug-like high spiritedness, the early stage, I told you, little confusion, little, lightheadedness. And depressive, this is the suppressive quality of the column. The depression is the suppressive quality of the column. So there can also be a split between upper and lower part of the body. There's hormonal imbalance. There's dysfunction or atrophy of the genitalia, which is usually being seen very openly in men with strong instinctual urges, and then they have, we'll see one case where he had impotence. And generally the right side is more affected. Nighttime aggravation we have seen, Kali, black discharges we have seen. Dreams are also of the dead, lot to do with death and the deep pessimism and other manifestation of black and white. So things are either swollen or contracted. So a lot of black and white, either this side or that side. When I studied Natramure way back, say 30, 40 years ago, when I studied Natramure, they always said it looks at everything in black and white. And that time we didn't realize it is the womb and just, development stage right in the beginning. And therefore things are not, no shades of gray. So you have the masculine pulling, feminine saying, even I'm there, and we'll see who will win. So these are the general things we have done. The general themes of the whole group, okay? This My Tales group. We are going to do some cases because cases always make things light. The case will also explain the remedy. So first we'll do the case and then the remedy, okay? And as usual, we've got a surprise element also for her. So she was 28 years old and came with severe headache. You saw in the earlier group also headaches. For the last 7-8 years, she's had this severe pain and she wants to cut off the head. You remember roses, either you want to part of the bouquet and cut off, I was cut off. So that kind of thing is still remnant. Everything remains, doesn't go off. Now, no borders are sacrosanct. Feels the head is going to explode. The story was that she finished her B.Ed just 1 month ago and she already got a job. She was selected as teacher with a good salary, but she had never thought of going to this hi-fi school. She's not ready for the job. You understand this? I'm thinking of one patient of my mother's. I wish I could have treated him. He never took any promotions all his life. He was a clerk and he remained a clerk. Every time they would offer a promotion, he'd never take it. And we never really got any remedy. Whatever my mother gave must have been patchwork. He kept coming to her. But it was that he was not ready to move on. Maybe it's one of these remedies, okay? But she had never thought of this school, so she was not ready. But it was a good job. So she should join. Everybody in the house said, no, you must take it, it's very good and all. So a lot of anxiety to join. How will I teach? Because I want to be successful in teaching. And so other colleagues, I want a good name. And since childhood, I've always wanted to be a teacher, but I wanted to go slowly and not go to such a hi-fi school with very many good teachers so fast. What was the story? Father was strict in childhood. So elder brother was very naughty, so she was being beaten all the time. She feared and would do good because she never wanted to be beaten. But in sleep, she would get frightful dreams. A lot of dreams of frightful cats. and confusion taking decision. We have seen even now. Dominant father, we have seen in the whole class, right? And career, dream, job, we are talking about. So here you can see that it belongs to this fifth subclass, okay? So when you were talking about career, talking about work, about a dominating father, then you come to fifth subclass. Then you'll have to see from the fifth subclass, which is the row. Now you've seen here, she's very indecisive. She's not able to take a decision. So she's unprepared. How will I express myself successfully, be understood by others? I told you there's a general theme of which group? My tails. So row 1 and my tails. So you see how when you look at the whole story, you can come. You had the career, what was the problem? Career, taking up that job in that school. How was she? She was, father was very strict, dominating, all that. So you come to the row, fifth, not the row, the column, the fifth subclass. And then she's unprepared, not wanting to do. How will I do it? Will they laugh at me? Will I wear proper? See how everybody is laughing at him because he's worn a suit and then he's worn half pants. He forgot, right? So row 1, and this is my tail. Row tails is about communication. This is about not being prepared. You understand? Some clarity will come as we go along. Today, I promise. And you go away and use one. We are doing it 2 remedies. I'm sure you'll use one of them in the next week. I hope so. So a lot of dreams of cats. So when they looked at the rubric, this is really interesting. There were only 2 remedies, Daphne indica and Natswamika. Now Natswamika belongs to which column? 6th column, which is full masculine leaders, wanting to rule the world. No, this is not like that. So this is of the 5th subclass and row 1. So only Daphne is from subclass 5 and from row 1, the mighty. So Daphne, 200. 3 doses were given, once in 10. And the patient improved. And after 7 months, terrible headache, she was completely relieved. Do you understand? It is possible to prescribe. You have to come, understand the problem. What was the problem? Here the problem was that she's talking about work and she studied and now she's going to work. That's why I told you right in the beginning that this is a lot to do with today's current state where we are in. Today's generation, everybody wants to work. It's not the men on. So the women also want to work. So a lot of these remedies will come up. So, and then you are very lucky to have got dreams of cat. And earlier on, if you had seen it, you've seen this rubric and found Daphne, you'd have said, God knows which remedy, just give Matsu. Okay, and it would have worked to an extent. Some headaches would have been better, but it would have recalled. So here, you gave Daphne indica and patient was. So let's do the materia medica of Daphne indica. Characteristics, a lot of things will be repeated from the generals that we did. So you'll understand that the generals are important. If you remember the generals, you can come to that group and then you can choose the remedy from little bit from repertory and so on. So there is congestion about to explode or scatter. So the headache is such going to burst. Sensation as if the cervical lymph nodes are excessively swollen, and so also the blood vessels. And when anything is very swollen, you feel suffocated. So this confused sensation of enlargement and swelling is there. Feels as if certain parts are separated. This is another thing. In this group, lot of patients will tell you as if my head is separated from my body and scattered on. So you have another family called Leguminosae, which is the pea family. So what happens is, that is like how we had that poem when we were in children. All the king's horses and all the king's men could not put Humpty Dumpty together again. So once it's broken, it's all scattered and you couldn't put it back together. So the peas also, when you peel the peas, they're all there nicely in that little pod. And then you take it out, and after that, you can never put it back. So Leguminaceae family also is a lot about family and being together. And many patients we've given that, where they are scattered, and then the one boy never had the same comfort level again because the joint family was broken. So it feels as a certain parts are separated from the body. Okay. Pain in the head and the eyes with congestion, feels that the skull is going to explode. This is now we are doing about Daphne indica, the specific remedy. But some of the generals will repeat. His eyes are about to be pushed out, and a lot of headaches. We saw this in Purunasa. Feels his head will separate now. This is the difference. His head will separate from the rest of the body. He's not saying cut off. Which is more the rosacea. A feeling of being split. Confusion about his identity. Toothache also causes erection. And erection may cause toothache. The pains are terrible, like lightning. Can't fall asleep. The split on the vertex. There are also growths on the scalp. Buttocks feel cold. I told you, hot and cold. One part feels hot, one part. And the tongue is coated only on one side. Many of these remedies coated on one side, red on one side, so on, so forth. The sudden spasm in the limbs, we talked about limbs and joints, because you're going to move ahead and contact with the other. So, limbs are affected. So again, there will be this tension split. Mind, there is a lot of suppression as in all the family. Sadness caused by difficult past events. Like in this girl's case, we saw Daphne. Father used to beat up the boy, her brother, but she used to feel the pain. And she used to see that being beaten every day, and she would be so scared that she would be beaten. And she would get dreams of cat. They don't express their feelings, which accumulate. So whenever you don't express, my husband always used to say, you have a problem, go on the rooftops and scream it out. Then it's out of your system and somebody will come to help you. But you keep everything to yourself, then neither will you get help, and you keep crying that nobody is helping. So here they don't express, and it poisons their system. They start rejecting others, though they need the connection. Shh. Hello. This creates an ocean of pain. So pain is like goes on endlessly as if it's an ocean. They're extremely sensitive to pain. Yeah, you have a cartoon character, just got hurt, that's it. And the pain evokes in him anxiety and depression. So this is very, very of the whole group, very characteristic. Very sensitive to pain and a lot of fears of the pain. Every illness makes them sensitive, and they say even the start of illness can give, the thought of illness gives them skin shock. So pain as well as angry behavior, very labile, they're not settled. The nervous system is still in a very labile. So you can get angry behavior, trembling. Everything is confused, scattered, and not in place. Therefore, you cannot concentrate, and forgetful and indecisive. This remedy works on the lower body, less conscious part of the body and mind. Breath, the urine, perspiration, have a fetid smell. So we think of benzoic acid often, so you must think of this remedy also. Night aggravation, nightmares, dreams of black cats and snakes. So remember black cat, definitely. Yes, night aggravation, nightmare, snakes. So it is the expression of a black quality of the feminine element of the first root. You will say, but everybody will have. You'll see in our second remedy, we don't have black cat dreams. Then fire. So dream, this is fire remedy. So it has got, you can have elements of earth, water, and fire. So here you have fire. Lightning like pains, there's much pent up fire in the remedy. Like a congestion, one type of congestion. And they suffer from great sleeplessness due to bone pain, which are always at night. We used to call it the syphilitic mice. And when they do sleep, it is disturbed by horrid dreams of black cats and fox. But this is not the syphilitic miasm. Here the miasm is leprous. What is leprous miasm? I did miasms also with you. Luckily, you all are also clever people. You all asked me for the important things, miasms and inner ages. So we did it, okay? So leprous miasm is what? Anybody? Leprous miasm where you are rejected, okay? Remember Ben-Hur. In the earlier days, you had dropped nose, dropped fingers, ears used to drop off. Horrible. So leprous miasm when you are rejected by everybody, you kept far away, you are not loved, you feel nobody loves me. Yes. So this is leprous miasm. Here, she felt like that because father used to be the brother, and she also included herself. She included herself in the brother. So she felt also rejected. But the brother himself just took the beatings well and grew up okay. But she is the one who suffered. So it all depends on the emotional state of that person. So definitely the brother was not from this family. Dreams of animals, cats who are tortured and very heedless, careless. They also don't like household duties because this is the fifth subclass, right? Going out into the world, working. So you don't want the feminine job of doing household. A lot of irresolution in this. The symptom that the mind of Daphne, head separated from the body, especially at night. Dreams of cats, of felines, which are also cat. Black, vicious black cat seized him by the head and separated his head. Gums as if filled with air, crackling of gums on pressure. Pain excoriating in the gums on pressure. Tongue is coated on one side. Dark black tongue on the one side, or a red tongue on the one side, or white coated but on one side. Not like the picture, which is fully. So the characteristics of Daphne are muscles, bones, worse cold air, worse waning moon. See, moon is in connection with the other world. So whenever you have moon phases and in patients, you have to think that they are connected to the other world. We never thought of it earlier. We just full moon aggravation, new moon aggravation, so on, so forth. But now we can think. Worse evening in bed, and parts which are separated like baptisia or sorainen, are separated from the body. We saw here the head was separated and there's bruised skin. Peter, we saw a lot of bad swelling discharges, lot of exhaustion, sadness, head feels big, tongue coated on one side, sleepless from bone aches, clammy sore. So any of these things come up, you have to think of the remedy. Go back, look at your notes and see if you can fit it. It acts on the lower tissues, muscles, bones, skin, sudden lightning jerks in different parts of the body, craving for tobacco, burning in stomach, and parts feel separated, fetid breath also, urine or sweat. Head feels as if the skull would burst, the head separated. See, we go on and on repeating, it all sits into your mind, okay? Urine may be thick, turbid, yellowish, like rotten eggs. Entire inability to sleep, caused sometimes by aching the bones or dreams, with nightmares, dreams of black cats. You'll never forget black cats and fire. Starting to fall asleep with chilliness and clump. So you may have one part hard, one part soft. One part cold, one part hot. Right toe swollen and painful. Pain shoots upwards into the abdomen and heart. I've never had such a pain ever. But if we know, we sometimes can find it. Rheumatic pains in thighs and knees. Cold feeling on the buttocks. This comes second, third time. Shooting pain shift rapidly. Yeah, we think of pulsatilla, but it cannot be, it can be other remedies also. Worse cold air. Okay, so we have done Daphne, we've done a case. What was the case about? You remember the case, you can remember the remedy. The case was dominating father, strict father, beating up the brother who was not obeying. She became obedient, but she studied, she wanted to work, but she wanted to go slowly and prepare herself. But she got a job in a good school and she was not ready. She was unprepared. She was torn. She wanted, how will I communicate to the other big teachers? How they must think well of me. We have to think well of, and others' opinions now in this stage are important. So that they think well of them, that is important. So sometimes they suppress themselves and take the will of others. Separated headache, excruciating pain, as if head is separated. So this we done Daphne indica, which is a remedy from the Mytales family, and it is the 5th subclass, row 1. So we are going to next do miseria. It's a remedy, at least we've heard the name of, and we've used it sometimes, right? So it will be more interesting. The split is created by the column, expresses itself here at the most basic level. They are torn between desires of the other and of ourselves. So in this column, the call for activity for expressing that developed I, which is developing, already exists. But they are still not ready, and the maturity is not there. But the will of others has a major influence. When you don't have the maturity, you don't have a strong will, you're not firm, then you always look for what the other person will ask. Do you think I should do this? Do you think I should do that? What career I should take? Which school I should join? So the will of others has a major influence. So there's always this conflict of loyalty where they are torn. Loyalty is another thing which will come up often in the case, where they are torn apart between two conflicting emotions, resulting in ambivalence or suppressed. So what have we seen? Unpreparedness, torn, not mature. It's in the whole group. Conflict is created between desire of the individual and the desire of the other. There's still no fortitude, means no steadiness. Yet there is desire for contact with the other. So a tendency to please. When I want contact, I try to please them, right? Lack caninem, right? Want to please, lack equinem. So a tendency to please is created to take on the desire of the other and lose yourself. So important becomes will of the other. And self-suppression is typical of this column. There's sometimes the feeling of guilt, but mainly it is shame. When you don't do what you want and you let somebody else rule you and so on, you may feel shame that you are not, being strong enough. So the conflict of loyalty, Rosenberg says, in love, the conflict or the split between father and mother. Okay, say either they're getting divorced and you are stuck between the two. Who are you be loyal to? So this conflict. So you have children who hide. Whenever there's a fight, they hide. There'll be another child who will try to say, no, I try to get them separate. They definitely don't belong to this column. So either between father and mother, or between a woman and her spouse, between one's own opinion and the others, between the family and the work, who pulls you, you're always not available, you're always at work. So the conflict. The lesson which you have to learn is to accept the other while staying true to oneself. Very difficult. But say, yes, I take your opinion. Thank you so much. You don't have to say you're not going to abide by it. And then you stay true to what, think about it and do whatever is right. So the difficulty is in making the decision, or it's opposite. I express all irritating opinions of myself. Balance. The split and this conflict often leads to eczema and other skin problems. In the earlier case, we saw a lot of headaches. Here we see a lot of eczema. Emotionally, every pain, every sign of an illness leads to anxiety. So much anxiety. Arey Baba, you've not even got the illness. No, doctor said it may be cancer. Let it first come. No, why do you die before your death comes? You die every day before your death comes. Just wait for your death, right? All sages tell us that. Everybody is to die one day. So what is there to be anxious from now? So, but here, every little pain, can it be? What can it be? Every sign of illness, anxiety. So either you can have great anger, alternating with hysteria. So forgetful, vanishing of thoughts while speaking, and he learned something by heart, but he can't now repeat it. He forgets. Thoughts vanish. Indifferent later on to everything and everybody, and sometimes look through the window for hours without being conscious of anything around. Dullness of mind after sound sleep. Even after a sound sleep, they feel dull. So there's anxiety and confusion. You cannot stay hungry like salsa. And when hungry, better by eating. As soon as they eat, they may feel somewhat better. Someone else's desire for you conflicted with your own sense of destiny, and your shape becomes changed in a last-ditch effort to preserve this basic integrity which you have. You want to preserve it, and just as the feminine is trying to preserve their place in this masculine world which is going to come up, so you preserve yourself, but the other says something else. So your whole shape changes. Aggravation from loss of money, thinking about business. These are already elements we belong to the whole column. And suppression of an eruption or the vaccination. So it will have skin, lots of ointments were put and suppressed. So then we got other trouble. So the unprepared mind becomes dull, sits for hours, feels as if hands are cold and dead. Everything seems dead. Nothing makes a vivid impression on the mind. And finally, it becomes melancholic and indifferent. Every ailment leads to withdrawal from society. All these are elements of this row 1. So when melancholy, depression set in, feels brain is hard, brain is soft, but he feels brain is hard. Hand is weak. Says, where am I? Doesn't know. Thoughts disappear while speaking. And while he's talking, if you disturb him for 1 minute also, he loses the bearing. So then he likes to engage with trifles. And all this improves when he's eating. Okay? So comfort food, what do you call it? Still a throwback on the previous column, which was the nutrition line, column 4, subclass 4. So finally, you turn to religion to get help because being alone is not easy. The physical split is expressed in the distribution of heat. So as I told you, some parts are hot, some parts are cold. We saw here also in the case of Daphne where there was cold in the buttocks. Chilly, but itching and headaches are worse from heat. Loss of feeling in the head, oppressing pain like a cork. How is a cork? You have to push it in, right? So it is pressed and half-sided. Numbness also left half. Or a sensation that hard parts of the body are getting soft. So they are soft, but you feel they are. Even in the generals, you get soft part, sensation of bad effects, ailments from suppression, emotional or physical like skin. The scalp is so sensitive, the slightest touch, they don't like touch. Touch of affects, others affect them too much. Immediate aggravation. Skin problems, you know the skin are barriers, right? You saw the hedge, and we know the skin is a barrier. So that is why it is affected so much. Feeling eczema, herpes, ulcer, the skin doesn't look healthy with blisters, yellow discharges, pain and itching, and the characteristic violent pains and itching. So on the head, you can have capitostemia. Sometimes you can have, after that was treated, you got troubles, you may get something like that in the history. Disfiguring skin problems, because the whole row is more emphasized on looks, especially the rosettes we saw, emphasis on looks, causing lack of confidence. So when you don't look good, you have confidence not good. That's why people dress up well for an interview to add to their better looks and you feel confident. There may be a history of steroid application leading, and then the skin to the skin. Every excitement, which is the feminine quality, causes a skin reaction. The skin is hysterically, I like the use of the word, sensitive and itchy. Suppression within the masculine quality of skin problem leads to rapid physical or emotional deterioration. And very funnily, the cracks in the skin are very geometrically patterned. So now you know, if you get geometrically patterned cracks, if we've ever seen it, or we ever lucky enough to see it, think of this remedy. So physically, the skin, the GI tract, and so eruptions, eczema with intense itching and burning vesicles. Vesicles form a thick crust or ooze, pooling discharges. Itching, the patient is chilly, but itching is aggravated heat and better by cold. Eruptions on the face, margins of hair, eyebrows, they're crusted, oozing, and very itchy. Itching of the face, cracked lips, so on. And the GI tract, anxious, anguish, emptying, feeling in the stomach as if dying. Cravings are for fat and ham. You may have peptic ulcer, gastritis. Ears as if cold wind is blowing through them. That is the kind of sensation they get. So the characteristics, all that we have done so far, disease of the skin originate from skin, intense crack, crusty suppuration, geometrical pattern, worse warm, better cold, chilly patient. Ears there's wind blowing, mind there's unpreparedness, tone not mature. Every emotion reflects on the skin. Anxiety and anguish in the stomach as if die they will. Scalp very sensitive to touch. Numbness on one side, soft parts, hard parts. Anxiety at every mental or physical illness. Stares for hours vacant, forgets link if interrupted. Ailments from conflict, desires of other and self. Okay. So clear, the remedy is clear. What was Daphne we did earlier that had dreams of cats and black cats and fire, and it is a leprous miasm. And this is very different in the sense it has a lot of skin ailments or suppression from skin. So here we are going to do some lots of cases, yes? So that it becomes clear and you, I can fulfill my promise of you going and using the remedy. Elderly gentleman, he was 80, he was a lawyer. He suffers from facialis, a painful neurological condition of the face, the paralysis of the right. So there were two women. He's 80 years old. Huh? Two women in his past. To this day, he's torn between them. He's still not decided. 2 heart attacks with open heart surgery. And now he has impotence. But this is the one which troubles him the most at 80. He can't come to terms with this and bothers him the most. He feels shame. Seeing the split, the conflict of loyalty between the two women, the shame and the affinity of the remedy to neurology all led to misery. The pain, paralysis, skin all became better. Erection came back, and his 62-year-old girlfriend was very happy. The Nehustan case. Case 2. He had severe psoriasis covering most of his body. Strangely, it does not bother him. In the same way, he doesn't mind exposing and going to the swimming. The psoriasis erupted few years ago when his son got it. What is the story? He traveled with his son to USA to get treatment. He mortgaged his whole house. See this? His whole house, his car, his everything he sold. He used up all his savings and gave his soul for that child. But the son died. His illness, and when the son died, his own illness erupted. He felt also guilt, judging himself. I didn't succeed in my mission to save my son. Was it his fault if he had not used his saving, not mortgaged his house? Yes, he can feel guilt. Even after doing everything, you can feel guilt. That the idea is that one is stretched and stretched to the point, I cannot do it. Till you cannot do any more. This is element of beginning of column 5. The combination of guilt and skin points to misery. The remedy brought about disappearance of psoriasis and also the guilt. Nehustan again. Good film. This has lots of cases. Case 3. Dunham. He reported a case, very famous Dunham, Dr. Dunham, where he cured a youth from deafness that appeared after suppression, disappearance of severe eczema on the head. The youth went deaf, became melancholy, abstained from company, a morbid state of the mind. He broods and broods and broods, secludes himself away from his own family, to suppression and abstinence from contact with others. 6 months of the remedy, Miserium in 30C, he regained his hearing. You can find this in reference works. 4th case. So this was a 60-year-old man. He was the principal of a professor. So earlier he was a professor, and suddenly he was appointed as principal. So what do you know about these people? They are unprepared, but they were loyal. So he was, because of his loyalty, who stick to one job, okay? Because they are again scared of changing. So he was loyal, and so he was given this. He was not ready, but he took charge. And then a lot of problems. So he got itching all over the body, worse at night, better by rubbing, pain in the legs, deep inside the bones at night. Vitamin D was low, but after many tablets and vitamin D came high, but the pain didn't subside. So as a principal, he has solved many issues. But though the management appointed him, they didn't give him support. There were lack of funds. The colleagues also, because they've known him for so long, they think he's one of them, so they bother him with their problem. He suppresses. He's torn because he's between the management and the staff. And all this anxiety makes him feel stiffness in the epigastrium. So far, whenever we think of anxiety in the stomach, we think of Kali, right? So Kali is also a corresponding 4th row of the mineral kingdom. I'll call you later, please. So you thought of Kali. So Kali is the fourth row in the periodic table, which is also to do with work and career and so on. So yeah, so it is a correspondence. You see how knowing correspondences also can help us. If we decide that this case is, no, I thought of plant, but I don't think, then I can think of the mineral. Now she had a lot of things, very organized, had to have everything in order, was worried about like trifle, very anxious, 3 o'clock aggravation, so many things we could have given. So here working, you took the rubrics chilly, unpreparedness, loyalty, shame, suppression, pain better by rubbing, pain in the bones at night. So the result was Rostov came high. Always, whenever in night aggravation and pains, you'll have Rostov. The Miserium was also there, Salicia, mercury, nitric acid form. Miserium 201 dose was given. After 18 months follow-up, completely better. Okay. There's also craving for spicy. What do they like? They like fat and ham. Miserium. So we've done 4 cases. Any idea? You get a capsule, anything? Chili, you belong to the womb stage or infant stage, womb stage, more like it. You're unprepared, you're torn. There's a lot of shame, night aggravation, skin suppression leads to problem, so on and so forth. We're going to understand even more. As I told you, I have some surprise for you. I have Dr. Rama who is going to share her personal case. Yes, Dr. Rama?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. This is really nice. Really,
We are
really
very
nice.
happy to have it. Preeti, you can give her the share. She can do her own thing.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Yes, she can share.
Okay. Oh, you have to take off your share screen, Vishpala.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Is that coming on?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oops, sorry. One minute. One minute. I don't know how to do this. I have to go into screen share, right? Sorry. Give me a minute, please.
So what you do is your own PPT, you please put it on the lower bar and then it will be easier. Put it on the lower bar.
Okay, I've put it in the lower bar.
And then now you do share and then you open that.
Okay, all right. Share screen. I didn't get that.
Yeah, here is share screen.
Yes,
you
please.
want me to, if you can, I can also share your case with you.
That's okay. Let me try.
Yeah. See, I put your case here. If you can see my screen.
I'm not able to. 1 minute. I don't know why I'm not able
And
to.
share. So.
Okay. Now let me share screen. Then I will do it. Share. Yeah. Now you're able to.
Yes. Now you put it on full screen.
Okay. So I don't have to share screen. You are sharing.
No, you're sharing.
Okay, I'm sharing. I'll put it on full screen.
And
Yeah,
you just put it on full screen.
I do that. Sorry.
Wibble wobble. I like the name.
That's Anjali. Thanks to her.
Yeah.
We were looking at this shaky, very shaky person.
Yeah.
So got this Tanjavur,
That doll.
famous Tanjavur doll. Just minimize this. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Vishpala, for this opportunity.
Rama, full screen, please.
Full screen nahi hai kya? Abhi tak? Sorry.
It is the fourth icon.
Sorry. Yep.
Very good.
Yes.
So
This is a case. Thank you, Dr. Vishpala, for actually already giving all the highlights of the remedy. So it'll be very easy for you to spot. Now, this case is a case that I have been seeing off and on for the last 16 years. I've really not made a dent till a month ago, and it was like magic. So I thought I had to share, even though I have to wait for at least another year to see how she responds and etc. But this was too much to pass up. And so here's the case. So this is a middle-aged lady, good looking, coming from a very affluent business family. And she recently only separated, living very independently with her husband and 2 daughters. But prior to that, she was in a joint family with her parents, who father running a very successful business, and she was part of that. So this was a case of multiple pathologies: tension headaches, keloids on both pinna, there was dandruff, severe dandruff, burning. Every time she would scratch, she'll say it's burning. Then there was GRD and bilateral renal and GB stones, multiple anal fistula. This surgery, when she went on a trip, she just couldn't take the pain. And so she just got herself admitted into a hospital in Bombay and had the surgery done. And the surgeon found that when he was washing, the cleaning liquid came out through the rectum. And that's how he discovered that there were multiple fistula there. So that kind of a hidden suppression that Dr. Vishpala was talking about in this remedy.
So multiple, when you're talking about, early stages, when they have too many.
Yes. IBS and constipation, which was her constant complaint, and PCOD, now which became a very new thing for her, which she was very, very worried about. Anything and everything, like Dr. Vishpala said, would be a big source of worry. There was nothing very special about her physical generals. She loved chocolates. She did have a lot of perspiration, which is mildly smelly, but according to her, to be very smelly. This is all this very exaggerated. The stools there was a tendency for constipation prior to the anal fistula. Later on, it was erratic. Sometimes she would have IBS, sometimes she would have constipation. And that hard stool, where you would feel, would be like as though it would split the anus, and very exhausted after that. That actually was one of my entry points. So please remember that. The weather, she liked cool weather, did not like the heat, liked the mountains, but she became chilly also. The sleep, as usual, if the room was too cold and she must have it correctly, she must cover the body, but the feet and the hands must be outside. So this hot, cold. Some part of the body is hot, some part of the body is cold. These are all early stages in development of the people. Now, this was very, very interesting and very peculiar, for which I gave a lot of remedies as an opener, but to no avail. She had so many miscarriages, spontaneous, 8th week for first one. Second one had no heartbeat, torch was positive, there was chromosomal abnormality, she had GDM. This was terminated. Then she had left renal stone and a full term, but it was because it was a precious pregnancy, she didn't want to take a chance, and it was a girl baby. The 4th one again was a spontaneous abortion in the 8th week. Again, the next one was a miscarriage where the fetus was dead. So you can see the amount of syphilitic miasm which is already there in her own personal history. And the last one,
death. We talked about death
and dying. Yeah, this is very, very prominent. This is again another entry point. Please remember this. And of course, headaches and heartburn, the GRD came in there in a big way for the next girl. In her history, she had chickenpox, left renal stone, and GDM in pregnancy. Father had gastric ulcer, and he was later diagnosed with acute lymphoid leukemia. That became a very sore point in the family. The mother, then this was another point that was important. When she was 12, her mother attempted suicide by hanging herself after the patient and mother had witnessed mother's older sister immolate herself. So this is a very, very traumatic event in her life. Brother was older and he committed suicide at 22, love failure, usual. That she
So
died, there was
a lot of deaths in the family.
lot of deaths in the family and suicide. So this death by near death issues. There was diabetes and heart on both sides of the family, 2-3 generations. So how was this girl's childhood? She was dominated by the mother. The mother here was like the father figure. She was rigid, traditional, non-demonstrative of affection, very, very attached to father, but the father was never available. He was always traveling on business. She couldn't take any independent decision. You know, the mother even selected her dresses, she said, even till class 12. There was nothing that she did on her own. She was chaperoned everywhere. She was not allowed to meet friends. Nobody was allowed to come home. She wasn't allowed to make friends. She was not allowed to go to any school parties, school picnics, school function. If she had to go for a school function, either the mother or somebody would chaperone her. So this was this very, very, very protective, restricted environment in which this girl grew up. She was very confused. So whenever there was even a minor argument, which is very normal in any marriage between the father and the mother, this girl would get so terribly frightened and she would agree to everybody's views. So there was nothing in her view. I have given alumina in all kinds of potencies, all kinds of salts, nothing helped. Introverted, shy, conscious of others' opinions, timid, low confidence, very, very lonely girl, very lonely. No nurturing. There was no nurturing at all by the mother. Father not available. She was always wanting mother's approval. So she'd be very scared, very, very timid, and do whatever the mother wanted. This was the picture of the mother. She said it at some point. The Kali Mata pole na mama. My mother was like the Kali Mata, she said. So this was another entry point. Her married life, she got married very early, just after school, into a very more educated family, another business family, but they were more educated. They were all much older. She was the youngest daughter-in-law and literally the baby of the family. And naturally, there was comparisons. She again felt more lonely, again felt more as though, you know, I didn't know anything kind of stuff, and very, very deeply wanted to connect. But there was the only way she could was to please everybody by being more and more beautiful and, you know, helping everybody out. And her fears, now her anxieties, and she ended up with a lot of tantrums, because though the husband and the in-laws were very supportive of her, they liked her very much. She basically was a nice girl, but she just, you know, there these bursts of anger, bursts of anxiety, bursts of the tantrums, because there was a lot of suppression. So this was just beginning, no? We'll come to it. And she started believing more and more and more in astrology, because this is what she turned to, no? Religion. And this astrologer family friend who would come often, that everybody in the family consulted, and she was really drawn to him more and more, and she would consult for every little thing that she would have. So in her family life, she was always guilty that, oh my God, I didn't do this. Maybe they will not like me. So much like Lack Cannon. Irritable, mood swings. She then, when these successive miscarriages, her father's diagnosis of cancer and brother's suicide. So out of duty, she said, I think we should move back to parents' house. Her husband was very supportive, in-laws were very supportive. So she moved back from a very, very comfortable house. She came back to her parents' place. But here, she had more and more anxiety of health, because she became more and more inward, no? More and more brooding, nobody to help. Again, the mother remained indifferent to her, no support at all. So now the dreams were of father's death, her death. What would happen? Suppose we died, suppose I died. What will happen to my kids? Who will look after them? And this continuous, you know, needing little things, what one would take for granted, na? She would call up, you know, simple stuff like what to do now, what should I do with this girl now? This girl was, she quickly put the girl on the phone instead of her telling you, you know, a 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old's problems. She'll say, no, you listen to her. I don't know what it is. So she'll want all this kind of little advice. And there was always this fear of being rejected by her parents. And the parents didn't trust her much, is what she felt. Though she was given an independent charge of a department and her husband was being groomed to be the next CEO, but she kept feeling this no trust, this trust, mistrust was very, very high in her. And then when she started traveling on work, so there was this change in food, sleep timings, most important, being away from the family, all her acidity, bloating, and fissure problem that she had, that started increasing. And then she had this anal fistula, which really, really undermined her work. So for a few months, then she was at home. She didn't travel at all on work. So let us look. What was the problem of this lady? Her conflict was she couldn't balance work and home, both being equally important. She always said, I had to finish, I have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. I have to cook lunch. I have to cook breakfast for my kids, for my husband before they left for school and college and work. And then I had to finish eating and then I had to go to work. This is the problems of everyday working women all over the world. But for her, it was too much. She couldn't do it. And this inability to finish everything in time was so much that she started becoming guilty about it. Oh my God, what will happen? Today, I don't think I finished. How can I tell them today you can buy idlis from and take it and pack it for your lunch? Oh, I can't do that. How can I? So this was continuously on all the time. And she would react like Dr. Vishpala said, every little. The minute she would have a bloating, oh my God, do you think my ulcer? Do you think it's a gastric ulcer? One little stool was hard. Oh, do you think I have cancer of the rectum? And this is the way she would react. Very, very high reaction, very high sensitivity to the least disturbance. So what was her problem? This was her problem. Inability to perform her tasks in time. This is what was a major issue, which she has been talking about ad nauseum all the time. Every time this would be there. And this, but her talk was never, pinpointed or systematic. It was always very descriptive. She was all over the place. Of course, I didn't know this, didn't have this knowledge at that time. And a lot of argentum nitricum, a lot of bowel nosodes, a lot of arsal, all this was given. Of course, it never worked. She was never anywhere there. There was no feeling of loss or gain. She was just unprepared and did not know how. That's all. That was what basic she was. So all issues of her work, nutrition, mothering, health fears, security, everything corresponded to the calcarea line of the mineral kingdom. Yet, natrum ore, natrum all, mag group in all its forms, alumina and all its salts, silica, all its salts, calcarea group, argentum, nothing, all the problems continue to remain. So I looked at it a little differently. Maybe she was an animal remedy because there were comparisons. She was always comparing. My husband would get all this. See, my friend would get all this. My mother would do all this, but I would not. But there was no territory survival issues. The problem was within herself and not liking herself. There was no competition. There was no blaming of others. And I've given her so much of the lack of mollusks and all. Nothing worked. Tuja, acids, nosodes, bowel nosodes. Nothing worked because she felt that basic rejected by her mother since childhood, which left her forsaken and lonely, was the chap. That was the base. That was the scaffolding on which all her problems grew and manifested. So what was it? So let's look at it from this new way of looking at things. Thanks to COVID and thanks to lessons on the net, where we didn't have to travel all the way to Bombay for all these classes, I think our knowledge, and thank you, Dr. Vishpala, because every issue of the NJH is like gold now, because there was so much of descriptions of everything. In fact, I learned my mollusks from the NJH issue. I never knew what mollusks were. And I started applying and nothing. That also did not help. Here, the issue was of unpreparedness at work and in the relationships, both. Her mother was very masculine qualities, but the patient was very feminine, very weak-minded, very suppressed her emotions. Her talk was all about food, mothering, children, husband, home, in-laws, parents. This is all her talk. And her loyalty, duty, very, very, very prominent. Because that's how she moved back, because the father was down with cancer. She said, oh my God, it's my duty. I have no brother now. I have to look after this business. but she had no wherewithal, which everybody knew. So therefore, her husband was being groomed to be the CEO. In fact, he's the CEO now. So there was a split between the masculine and the feminine elements. So so look at this new way to perceive these kind of remedies, this kind of a case. So much of pathology, yet the talk was something that was ordinary, that was everyday, but which I never took heed to until I really learned this new way. So this split between the masculine and feminine elements that Dr. Vishpala has said in so much detail with a lot of sensitivity and reactivity was the plant family, and in the plant family was the subclass 5 of the Rosidea group. Unpreparedness for everyday tasks, according to Dr. Mahesh Gandhi's PEM understanding, which Dr. Vishpala has already given us 4 or 5 lessons now on how to understand in the personal evolution model understanding of remedies. It is high up in the column, this unpreparedness for everyday tasks. So the inner age, womb and infancy has actually this kind of unpreparedness. In Dr. Chandrasekhar Rao, who's following Dr. Gandhi, this remedy comes in both these. This family, Mirtales, comes in both womb and infancy stage. So there's a little overlap over here. So let us look what is this womb stage, where there is difficulty coping with life and its complexities. Very primal, very unprepared stage. Dr. Vishpala has already talked about this. I'm just reiterating it for the sake of this particular case analysis.
Nice to, it's all new for us. So when we do it twice, thrice, it stays with us. That's
Thank
good.
you, ma'am. Thank you. So the mother does everything for us. So the child is very passive, accepts everything happening to her. We would have always given lithium carb for this, but it is there in all kingdoms. So you have to look at it where it is. Dependent, no initiative. Absolutely, like this girl. She had no initiative. Hello, what do I do? She doesn't want to eat now. What should I do? These are the kind of calls I would get. Connections to the other world, this death and dying, this was a huge thing in her and in the case and in this womb stage. What happened about the infancy or the oral stage, because it's all about food, no? Nutrition that she was here too, food ameliorated her. Here too she was obese and would start exercises and then stop. There was no continuance, there was no perseverance in anything. Unconditional, dependent on parents and mother, especially for nourishment and sustenance. Unconditional love is needed for feeling secure about her existence. Basic stability is important, which comes from the immediate family, which she felt was a lack of. Because the father was absent most of the time and the mother was like the Kali Mata, very strict, very tough. Mistrustful, unpredictable suppression. This was what was also there in the infancy and oral stage, which was plenty in her in this case. Very sensitive to any perceived danger to the family. This was what would trigger off fears and anxieties and dreams. Suppression was in her was very clear, and she would cry and she would cry all alone. There was nobody, no? Though she would want to be consoled, but there was nobody. Everybody was busy. And she would cry all alone. And this instinctual, immediate gratification. Ego is very weak, so she'll operate from the id always. And because it's subclass 5, there is always superego, good, bad. This split between the masculine and the feminine, rules important, etc., becomes very important. So in the Rosidea themes, as already ma'am has been saying, every day, every time in this last 5 or 6 classes was the first stage of masculine element development. Work is done by the head and not the heart. You have to learn to live in society. So therefore, rules, regulations, morality, respect, discipline, hierarchy become important. Working for common goals, building resources, protecting home and organization important. So loyalty comes here in a big way. That's how she moved back. Feminine elements are suppressed completely. Rigidity, difficulty in relationships, superstition, that's the beginning. And it goes on and on, all the way up to paralysis later and rigidity of limbs and Parkinson's. So in the infancy of the oral stage of the Mirtales, what were the characteristics? Here was the desire to establish connections to the real world. She wanted to work. She wanted to make a good job of the department that was given to her, which entailed traveling, meeting vendors, getting the right orders, correct, matching the need with the She wanted to make a really good job of it. She was the only one in her family who knew Hindi. And that's how she was selected, because all their vendors were in North India. And that's how she was traveling a lot. And she wanted to make a really good job and make a mark for herself and the company. Life and death, this pathology of perinatal, and miscarriages, stillbirths, premature births, near death at birth, increased neuronal activity. This was my biggest entry point into this Mertales, when nothing worked. None of the other remedies in the other kingdoms worked. And this hysterical dramatic quality, slightest mental stimulation and high morality, guilty and feeling ashamed. Oh my God, I didn't do it. I'm feeling so guilty, ma'am. I'm feeling so ashamed. I couldn't do this little task that was given to me, at home and at work. Poor relationships. After a while, the husband was very busy and he was building up his new career and there was no time. And she felt there was no way I don't know what is happening. With the mother, of course, it was a complete dead end. Father, now she was overly protective. She was overly fragile with his relationship. The kids, she didn't want the kids to become like her. So she was trying to be very open with them, but it was a forced opening. There was nothing very spontaneous in her. Everything was, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? She had come to a point where she was opening the YouTube and learning how to cook, because she had never cooked in her life when she moved to this new flat of theirs. So there's what would finish in an hour time for everybody would for her take 2 hours, 3 hours. So there was all this lack of sleep and things like that. Despondency, this misanthropy, even desire to die. So this is the Mesarium flower. See how they're all close together, this wanting relationships, very pretty looking flowers. Lots of them. This unpreparedness of the superego of this column, where the superego has developed, but the ego is still beginning because they're very high up in the column, very high up. Infancy, womb stage, they're very, very high up. So therefore, this unreadiness and insufficient knowledge. So that is how it represents here in this Mertales. This unpreparedness shows unreadiness with insufficient knowledge. Therefore, they feel unprepared. Like ma'am's case of that college professor became principal, that gentleman who remained a clerk all his life. I'm sure he must have been Mesarium, where they're unprepared, not enough knowledge. First time they're operating from the mind, so intellect, and not from the heart. So the mind is not so forthcoming. It is not so cooperative. They cannot sustain for a long time. Here, it was a syphilitic remedy, Mesarium, because of the history, the personal history and the family history. Very, very, and very quickly she would give up. And very quickly it would be like the end of the world for her. And that is what the syphilitic aspect was. And of course, the natrum line, the calcium line, the lax and the mollusks were all the DDs here. Nothing really worked till it was the right remedy. And what happened? Miracle, absolutely miraculous. I just gave it I would like to just share with you her exact words, which she told me 3 weeks ago, and I'm waiting because I've just given her Saclac after that with just 3 doses of Mesarium 200. This doctor, this helped me wonderfully. Today there is again some discomfort after the stools. Again, that entry point was, the stools felt as though it was stretched and strained, as though it would split. She said it was still there, but it was not at that extent that it was as it was before. It was definitely less. I'm taking, and then she calls every 4 days. I'm taking regularly, but it's still not healed. Hello, this is a case of so many years, 15, 16 years, in 3 doses, in 3 weeks. How can it heal? But yes, the mind already has started becoming calmer. Her husband called actually day before yesterday to say, what remedy have you given, doctor? Please make a note. Please underline it. Please highlight it. Because for the first time, I feel I'm really married to a woman and not a child. So that, I think, was the proof of the pudding of the cake, the ice cream, the cream of the cake. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patient listening. Any questions? I'm open. And thank you very much, Dr. Vishpala. Thanks to Dr.
Thank
Anjali.
you, Rama, for a live case, because the case when we do it, we'll all be sharing all our cases when we go back and work on these remedies and treat them.
Yes.
And that makes it even more, and it'll stay with everybody and they'll be able to use it. So really, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, NJH team. Thank you for this opportunity. Over to you, ma'am.
Nirupama said,
Questions, we're open.
Very good.
So you see this, the plant, these berries are very, very attractive, but they're very poisonous. Apparently, a few berries can kill a child. It's that poisonous.
Yeah, Preeti, you open it, they can talk if they want questions or anything.
I'm sure now you'll find mesarium cases, plenty of them. And Daphne indica. Bursting headache. I want to cut off my head.
I've already found one today.
Wow.
So I will share with you next time maybe, or time after that.
Very nice.
Yeah. Anybody has any questions? Very well explained. Fifth subclass, very nice. Thank you so much.
I have one, just thinking after listening to you both. Dr. Rama, if I understand, when we used to study mesarium, we just read the skin, this and this.
Yes.
But now, after this in depth and the family, oh my God, thank you. Thank
It
you.
opens
You're
up
welcome.
such a big world, yes. So
Yeah, there was some skin, in the sense she like hard and soft. They definitely said she felt the lump in the anus becoming hard, and then that panic, you think the fistula is coming back, and the dandruff which was burning, you know, that split, the dandruff that was burning all the time, every time it would.
and the multiple splits in the anus, that was
Yes,
very important.
yes.
Yeah, Shaji Kuti, you want to say something? We are so happy that you're here. I mean, we'd never have thought CME. People used to say NJH CME just knew in Bombay. Who knew that COVID would come and teach us?
Yes, we are thankful, very thankful, Vishpala ji. Very, very thankful.
That we can share all this all across.
Yes,
Yeah,
madam,
Shaji, any
actually, yeah, in N.M. Chaudhary's Mathematics, mesarium has very beautifully given.
Yes,
This
yes, sir.
despondency, seeking through the window outside without becoming aware of the events, forgetfulness,
Yes.
and of course the caput symptoms, the heavy pus collecting under the scalp, hair, and a very good comparison also there, and cases is also there.
Yes, sir. I have
You
read
want to
that, sir.
tell us any case there? Anything else you want to share? The case over there?
Yeah, this mesarium is very wonderful remedy for trigeminal neuralgia happening in the face, madam.
Yeah, herpes also, yeah.
Yeah, herpes. Herpes and trigeminal neuralgia remaining after the healed herpes, years after trigeminal neuralgia happens.
Yes.
That is also covered by.
And better by cold in a chilly patient.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, I currently actually I'm treating one herpes of the abdomen and back. She's a insulin dependent diabetic with BP. Beautifully, variolinum and mesarium were the only two remedies that were needed. Opened with variolinum and now with mesarium, everything has healed. In 2.5 weeks, the pains have come down to minimum. This is an insulin dependent diabetic for more than 25 years.
So all our old cases, all the people here, we can look at our old cases, see which didn't help, and call them back and say, I've got a remedy for you. Nirupama, you want to say anything? You had some case?
No, madam, I don't have. Only thing, this neuralgia, what I read is right-sided. Basically, right-sided affection is more in
said
mesarium.
once right side, once it said left side, yeah?
Okay.
But this tongue coating, I've never seen like that half red.
Yes,
Half
in
side,
Daphne.
We have to wait for it. But you know, I want to tell you that like this today's patient actually came to me for cough some couple of months ago. And he's done very well with whatever we gave him. And today he came and said, I did very well for 2-3 months, but now I'm not doing so well. And a lot of history has come out now, today, maybe because yeah, it happens sometimes like that.
Yes.
So now, because I've been in this thing of miserium and all this, so somebody saying something. So I asked about the skin. So he's got 2 skin problems, which he not told me really much. An eczema on the ankle and some groin. Not only that, but then when I asked him about fear, actually his story is very sad story, which I'm going to tell you all when I completely cure the case. But their only daughter committed suicide. They have no idea why. Till now, they don't know why. You know? And in fact, she called up the mother and said, come to college and pick me up. And the mother went there and couldn't find her. And then went to the police station and the police found her at night. So you don't know why. And the wife's whole story came out today. The wife is saying, she went out and said, you can ask if he has any fears and all. He said, when she said anything to me, he's a very mild fellow. So when she says anything, and the friend said, you took money when I never took, I feel very hurt. So that sensitive nature come up in a man of 70 plus. And then she came back. So I said, how come you married him? Because he's a very weak and she seems to be running the. He says, I wanted to go military. I wanted to join the military. So you can imagine the difference in the personality. She's telling me. And then I was a shooter. I did this, I did that, all in. And then my father actually emotionally blackmailed. These are her words. Emotionally blackmailed me and said, I've had 3 heart attacks. I want you to get married. So then she said, okay, you find the boy. She saw the boy. This boy was brought 3 days. She just saw him and she married him. She knew nothing much about him. So today, after the daughter died, he just resigned from his job and is at home. She can't resign because somebody has to run the house. She's a dominating woman. She not only works, she also does. She gave me a beautiful toran, which I will show you all. And so she does that. And she says, whatever I can do, I do. I even buy him clothes from Fab India. Means to my level, I do my best. So she dominates. I said, he's scared of you. She said, of course. Now he told me about his amoebiasis today and about his stool. So far, when he came to me, only cough. So, and the night aggravation is there. So yeah, we're going to explore it much more. And then, so I'm just telling you what kind. And so actually we should be, I said you all should be very happy that you all have managed these 40 years and they got married at some 40 or 37. So quite late. So you managed the life together in some way. But he allows her to do, she goes trekking, she does this, that, her own thing she does. So they are okay. But in any other country, they would have divorced long ago. Yeah. So anyway, it's been very good journey, even for us, because we have learned those remedies. But when we study it from our angle, and when we study to teach it, we learn so much more. Yes. So actually, I should be grateful to you all for coming and listening to me.
We should thank you, ma'am, because thanks to you, actually, I did so much of work on this, which I would never have done otherwise. Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Okay. So Rashmi says, thank you for learning Miserium, very well explained. Yeah, very. So all thank you so much. So we are finishing little 10 minutes early. Actually, I've done your one-liners for you all.
Lovely.
Okay.
Ooh, always ready.
Okay. So I'll take the screen back, Rama.
Yes, please.
I will have to find it since I was not ready.
I've stopped sharing.
Yeah, thank you. So all these we had done. Rakata, California, Canina, we did, I think. Yes, you all remember?
Yes.
So Bractiata was the one where I told you I want to give it to a patient for sexual abuse. California, like carcinosin. Canina is the Bach flower where teeth are like corns. And Rosidea, you've heard so much about. We've done very good cases with you all. And okay. So Rosa G, Gallica, pink, social image. What they think of her is very important. Very talkative because she wants them to think well of her. Mouth apathy, gingivitis, herpes, relationship problem, self-criticism, respect one. And she's like a drama queen. Weeps, anger, unjust accusations she feels. And she's either pleased with herself or feels she's dirty. She had a lot of social issues in school and comfort food. The things affected her head, heart, and ear. I think some more I had done. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't find them. I done some more. I can't find. I done till 17. Okay. I will find them for you and do it next time. Okay. Okay, is that all right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Thank you,
Next
thank you.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have
Thank
done
you.
Prunus well, and we have done Rose D well, and we have done Miserium well. Really the best, I think so. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Continue my tales next time. Okay, bye. You can stop the recording, Preeti.